Hey guys, Friday afternoon vlog. It's now 4:55. So I was a nerd today and I went and saw that new Avengers movie. A friend of mine called me up, said, "Hey, let's go." So I saw it at IMAX. Was it good? Yeah, it was good. If you're into superhero movies, I'm not a huge fan of them, but it was good. Lots of nice visuals, you know. It is what it is. It's a superhero movie. Some people are saying it's the best Marvel superhero movie ever. I don't know about that, but I haven't seen them all. But it's pretty good. So if you're looking for a little fun one evening or afternoon, check it out. All right, so let me answer some questions here. Hey, Stef, any idea when you would provide certifications for your IWD course? That is actually coming soon. This is kind of a pre-announcement. We have been building an extension or a module to the Studio Web 4 system, which is a pretty advanced certification system. There we go. And so we wanted to build something interesting. And what do I mean by interesting? Something that is actually compelling, something that has value. So we have a certification system that when people complete the certification, anybody will know that you actually have a real skill. So it's very legitimate, and that's the whole point of it. So I've built it, well, we've designed it rather, to have controls in place to prevent cheating and to verify that you're actually doing the material properly. I won't get into the details here. So yes, we will be rolling out certifications, because people have been asking me for a long time in the public to provide certification. I have been providing certification through Studio Web for several years now with different schools in the US and elsewhere. And so for the first time ever, we're now offering it for the general public. Details will be forthcoming. Yeah, the great thing about the certifications is it's a good way to start building your reputation and a good way to start building your portfolio, or excuse me, your your resume. Certifications are not the end all be all, but it's a good way to start. And the other advantage with this certification is that it will verify for you whether or not you're at a competent level of skill in that which you're going to be certified in. The typical stuff. It's going to be start with the web stack, and we're going to continue from there. I will be releasing it and letting you guys know. This is the first time I told anybody publicly. Told you guys publicly. It should be out very soon. We're just working on the final tidbits, if you will. Somebody asked me, where do you find templates? Is that something with WordPress? Yes, you just type in WordPress templates, WordPress themes. You're going to find a huge number. If you install the latest WordPress, or even a relatively recent WordPress, you go into the menu system, you'll be able to actually view themes, download themes directly into WordPress without even having to leave it. It's pretty seamless, and there's tons of templates out there. I should do a video directly on WordPress templates. Basically, some templates are good, some are not so good. You have free, you have some that are paid for. Depending on the type of work you need to do, you might want to go with a paid one, you might want to go with a free one. The problem with the free ones, sometimes, not often, but sometimes they could have some bad code in there, and even the worst of them could be bugged, although those, I would imagine, get caught pretty quick by the WordPress community. Somebody asked about the music that they hear sometimes in my video. Here it is. This is music that I composed specifically for this YouTube channel. I didn't want to use canned music that these vloggers will use. They'll license from one site or the other. There's nothing wrong with that, but what I would find is that vlogger A, who's super popular, would use a track from one of these services, and then all of a sudden 5 other people are using the same track. So I figured I'd just write my own, and so it's mine, right? What car are you driving? I drive an Audi S5 Cabriolet. It's getting a little older, but I don't like the style of the new ones. You know, one of the things, if you can avoid flipping cars constantly, buying new cars and new cars and new cars, you could find yourself in a better financial position far more quickly than you would otherwise. I have friends of mine who used to buy brand new, very expensive German sports cars every 2 years. And he's a few years older than me. He's several years older than me. And now he was telling me recently he regrets it. He regrets it because he didn't find the new cars were really all that much better than the older ones. And he wasted a ton of money. And in fact, he missed one of his old cars that he sold a long time ago, and he wished he just would have kept it. And he'd have hundreds of thousands of dollars more in his bank account if he hadn't bought a bunch of new cars. So let me end off this relaxed Friday afternoon vlog with a little psychological lesson. Now, if you've been following my vlogs, you know I studied psychology in university. It was my major. I did not complete my degree because I went off to build my first business. But that being said, I do have a bit of a background, a bit of a background in psychology, but I do keep up with certain fields of psychology, specifically specialization of behavioral psychology. I keep up with some of the latest stuff that's come out. Very interesting. And so let me give you a high-level view of how our brains are designed. This is like fundamental to everything that we do and motivations and so forth. It's very powerful. And I was thinking of maybe writing about it, breaking it down in non-nerd lingo, something that provides this holistic view of how our brain operates, how the operating system in our brain works, and why we do what we do and why other people do what they do. It's very, 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 very profound. In fact, it's profound knowledge. But anyway, you leave in the comments below what you think about this whole psych thing. I'm just going to give you a brief overview here. So, I don't know if I mentioned before. Our brains are basically divided up into two brains. Brain number one is called the lizard brain. I got this from a guy named Cummings, an author, PhD. So he calls it the lizard brain. Calls it the lizard brain because this part of our brain is shared with lizards. That's how far back on the evolutionary scale this aspect of our brains, when and how they were developed back in those days, not when they were developed. So it's an ancient part of our brain. And we also have then our higher cognitive brain, the thinking brain, the logical brain, the brain that can do 2 + 2, the brain that can figure out logical problems. Now, here's the thing. Is the profound knowledge here. The lizard brain manages all our emotions. It manages our perceptions. It processes all the data coming in through the 5 senses, sight, sound, taste, etc. The lizard brain controls the autonomic systems within our body, the heart beating, the breathing. We don't have to think about breathing. Our lizard brain takes care of that. The lizard brain, you can think of when we back up, you can think of our brain as a 10,000 core CPU. So each of those little cores are not very powerful, but there's tens of thousands of them, or maybe there's 10,000. I forget the exact number. I was talking to a friend of mine who's a neuroscientist. He was talking about this, does brain surgeries on monkeys, so he knows this stuff. So we have this brain that has tons and tons of cores. So it can process tons of information at the same time, but each of the cores are not extremely high, very powerful in of themselves. Our lizard brain, which controls so much, is a super powerful brain. It is very powerful. The lizard brain can process between 10 and 11 to 12 million pieces of information per second. 11 to 12 million, maybe 10 to 11, but you get the idea. We'll just say 10 million for the sake of argument. So our lizard brain, and it's not just localized, the people will call it the hindbrain, but I think it's spread out quite a bit. Anyhow, the lizard brain part processes about 10 million pieces of information per second. Our cognitive thinking brain, the brain that we are aware of, processes only about 40 or 48 pieces of information per second. my cognitive brain can't remember. So at this moment, what the exact number is. Anyhow, so you got the lizard brain, which is super powerful, processes millions of pieces of information per second. Then you got our thinking brain, the brain that we're aware of, we're conscious of, the brain that does the math. That only can process 40 to 50 pieces of information per second. Why is this significant? Because our lizard brain manages the vast majority of our decision making. The lizard brain communicates with our conscious, higher logical brain through emotions and feelings. Emotions and feelings is what drives our decision making. People tend to think that we think about a subject and we consider it and then we go, okay, we make a decision. The data shows, the science shows, all the test shows that oftentimes, not all the time, but a lot of the times, it's actually the reverse. Our super powerful lizard brain, which works in an unconscious manner in a way, in a subconscious, unconscious manner, we're not controlling it. It assesses things around us. It makes a decision based on its assessments, and then it creates feelings and predispositions. And then our higher brain, which is subservient, which is less than the lizard brain, it will then come up with excuses why we feel a certain way. Even though what actually just happened is that the lizard brain, the part of our brain we don't control, it just told us what to think or feel and how to perceive reality around us. It's pretty profound, and it has all kinds of implications. But I'll have to leave it at that. This is like lesson 1 of 7,500 of this subject. No, not 7,500. I don't know, maybe lesson 1 of 50. If there's interest, you let me know. You comment below. You want to hear more about the lizard brain. I was thinking of writing a book, maybe putting out a series called The Lizard Wizard. Master your lizard and master your world. That would be the subtitle. So I don't know. I'm thinking about it. Let me know if you guys are actually interested in this. This has impacts on all aspects of your life, whether it be business, learning to code, relationships, just how you exist, how you perceive reality. It's such a powerful thing. Anyhow, I was first exposed to some of this stuff 20 odd years ago, 29 years ago, well, back in college, university. In that time, in between that time when I was in school and today, they made some amazing strides forward in terms of what they discovered about how the brain works. But it was really coming out in the late 80s, early 90s. They started really cluing into how the brain actually operates. Anyhow, I'll leave it at that. Happy weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.